I'm live. I'm live. I'm live. I'm live. Okay, good morning, friends. I am starting a few minutes early. 10 a.m. is the actual designated start time. So let me start loading a few things up, and by the time we get to 10 a.m., I'm sure everybody and his cousin will be showing up for the amazing live stream. Oops, I just launched Vegas when I already had it ready to rock on the toolbar, but just minimized. So, boop, there it is. If you think I'm lying, there we go. There's Vegas. Okay, so today's going to be a pretty chill day. Yesterday we did a bunch of work, a bunch of work in Blender and Krita. And this does pretty much seem to be emerging as the definitive workflow for the most part. Meaning, create the character animation in Blender and actually export that into Krita. And really, I shouldn't actually open that one. I should open this one. Bring it into Krita so that we can do the, add the lighting effects and backgrounds, and it's all of it's everything I'm doing is possible in pretty much every application I use, meaning Blender, Tahoma 2D, Krita. It's just that certain tools are better at certain things, and when it comes to overlaying, gradients and lighting effects like we have here, because they're right at the mouth of a cave, so it's really bright out here but dark in here, that type of thing. Just really quicker in a paint program like Krita that also does animation. So the interesting thing about it, to me, being the animation pragmatist that I am, is that once I got this shot done, the dialogue and whatnot continues. So this is the shot, and then this is actually the next shot, which, today's the first day I've dealt with it here on the live stream. I just did a little bit of preliminaries last night. But it's an interesting case of you as an animator wanting to kind of think carefully about what it is you're doing or trying to do. Again, we have all these animation keyframes in Blender. So basically, here's the tricky part. The tricky part is if I want to repurpose this content in Blender, I need to be careful to, there's no way to really bake all this down. I mean, that's not technically true. You could actually put all this stuff in a single layer, but then the masking wouldn't work and, blah, blah, blah. So basically, you're dealing with entire columns of animation keyframes that you need to rearrange if you want to run things in a different order and that sort of thing. Let me see if I ever created a 075. I did, or a 375. Okay, so I'm going to not save this. Okay, so this is basically the set of keyframes from the prior shot, and then what I did was I did some fairly niggly work with, as you can see, just repurposing the keyframes, mixing them up in a different order, adding the lip sync, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that kind of works. In point of fact, though, the more I thought about it, I thought, geez, I've got all these animation keyframes and backgrounds and everything. Maybe it would actually make more sense just if you're going to repurpose this scene for another scene, which is this one, maybe it makes more sense to just stay in Krita. And that seems to be the rule. It's hard for me to quantify for you if you're an experimenting animator, for me to quantify where the threshold is. But you can think of it this way. If I'm working in Blender, okay, and I'm doing a pencil test and probably ink and paint, okay, of characters. Obviously, there are ways in Blender, multiple ways, to do things like background paintings and all that. So what I find is this is super fluid. Once you get to backgrounds, it's still pretty easy to do because you could bring in different background images into Blender as images mapped to a plane, or you could use the grease pencil, to actually do traditional painting, with Blender 2.9 and forward, obviously you can do that. But on balance, this really seems to be Krita's purview, and this seems to be more Blender's purview. And then when you say, well, I want to have a gradient, like a light beam coming into my scene, sort of illuminating my characters from the side as sort of an effect. I mean, for sure, it's just much quicker to do it here. It's not that you can't do it here. It's just quicker to do it here. And for me, a little more intuitive. Okay, so the point I'm coming around to is when you are repurposing one shot into another, which if you're doing a full-length show, you will find you're doing this a lot, like majorly. Then what you're basically doing is you're saying, hey, I've got 3 animation keyframes right here, but if I ran them in the opposite order, it kind of feels a little different, and you might even space this out. If there were 4 keyframes, let's pretend there had been one here, where when you reverse it, you actually move them apart to make the feeling of it. You're just expressing different ideas with human expression. That's basically what you do when you're animating, right? So the upshot of this explanation is that once the art is pretty complete, as you see here, generally, not 100% by any stretch, but generally it seems to be a little more intuitive and, what's the word? I don't know. I keep coming back to quick. Here we have an example that needs a little touching up, actually. Okay, she shrugs her shoulders. I'm not sold on that shrug, honestly. So I'm going to hit the A key. Yes, all we're dealing with is the character. So again, in Blender, this would consist of like 5 different layers. In Krita, because it's rendered, it's just one layer. That's the main reason why it's all a little simpler in Krita. So I want to just make this a little more extreme, and probably a little bit of that. Okay, let's see. Yes, that's definitely better. Now, do we need a tween is the question. Not really. Not really. I'm going to save that. Okay, none of this really makes sense from a storytelling standpoint because there's no lip sync in there, but there's a fair amount of a dialogue. And by the way, in this, we'll have to look at this because it could actually turn out to be a reason to pause the live stream. Depends. I need to look at the script because there may be things I need to change in the script I'm not quite happy with. Okay, so did I see the videos that Amar shared? Yeah, I skimmed them. I will say that, kind of reiterate that anything that seems to be mainly pertinent to Blender 3 or above, I'm only going to glance at because I'm just not ready at this point to be making any changes in my Blender version. And Sophie Jantak, I unfortunately, I remember that name, and I just don't remember what that was about. So I'm going to take a quick look here on the other screen. Okay, tips for drawing 3D. Let me take a look at what Sophie's doing. Yes, I remember seeing her.
Sophie.
I'm going to turn that down. I remember seeing her channel a long time ago. I tell you what, quick and dirty, I'm going to subscribe to her just so I can go back and kind of look at what she's got. I think what I'm trying to do, let's put it this way. This would be a good way to sort of sum it up today. I would say, broadly speaking, at this point, changing the workflow really very much at all would be something that I would approach very tentatively for the reasons I explained here before before 10 o'clock. This idea of doing your pencil test, character animation in Blender, but then bringing it over here for backgrounds, it's really pretty fast and it's pretty intuitive, other than when Krita starts acting stupid. In fact, just as an abundance of transparency, I'm actually back to 2.5 or 5.2.6 because I've been playing around with 5.1.4 and 5.0.2, and it's just for every positive you get a negative, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't seem to matter very much. Um, so we'll just do whatever we got to do to just get the freaking work done. You know. So for me, and in other words, speaking to kind of the things we've been talking about, Amar, I would say this, especially when you think about the compositor stuff we talked about yesterday. View layers. I did watch. I did some watching and some reading, and it does seem that I think that if you're dealing in Blender with a very large, very complicated project that involves a lot of assets and a lot of scenes, possibly many, many scenes in a single blend file and that type of thing, um, then probably the view layer collections system is probably a really good system, very powerful and flexible. The best metaphor I can get for what I'm trying to say is that in Blender 2.93, the masking is likewise considerably more powerful and flexible because you can get very specific about what is being masked, and you can make your masks negative. You can make it a holdout kind of situation instead of masking something to the interior of something else. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, don't sweat it too much. The idea is that putting it as simply as possible, and this will make sense in a minute. If I create a shadow here in Blender 2.93 and I have it masked to the fill layer, then that means if I draw a big shape of a shadow like this, you only see it within the character. Okay? My point being, this is quite flexible because you can specify what's being used to do the masking. So, like anything with animation tools, typically, there's a trade-off. And the trade-off is, in exchange for that greater flexibility, you have a little bit of housekeeping and setup you need to do. By contrast, in Blender 2.8, if this was set to use masking, it was just going to be masked based on whatever layers were underneath it. So it was very straightforward. Click, done. So you gain simplicity in exchange for losing some power or flexibility. I see this part of Blender as being the same thing. In Blender 2. Let's say 2. Before 2.5, and maybe partly in 2.5 to 2.8 as well. But anyway, in the old days, Blender had a very simple system. If you make something, it's in a layer. End of story. And you had 20 layers to choose from. So it was very straightforward, very, very simple and straightforward, but nowhere near as flexible and powerful as the collections and view layers paradigm. So the bottom line is this is harder to wrap your head around, how to use it creatively, number one. Number two, if you don't do the hard work of learning that, it is extremely non-intuitive to me. I may be weird, I don't know. So you're just trading complexity or a non-intuitive thing that takes a bigger learning curve. You're trading that for simplicity in other scenarios. So, all of which means what? Well, what it really means for me is that normally if I'm working in Blender, I'm going to deal with a single grease pencil object and a single character for the most part. This scene is a bit of an exception because we do see the two characters in the same scene. The only downside to that, though, for me, is that I wind up with a lot longer palette because I have to include all the colors for each character, which means there's a greater chance that on any given day I'm going to be scrolling up and down. And as a pragmatic animator, I actually keep track of that. I have the lived experience of creating the shot, and then I go, okay, how much time did I spend just basically doing this? Scrolling up and down looking for stuff. So the problem's not a good word, it's kind of a negative word. The price you pay, let's say, for the power of Blender's view layer and collections system is that it requires a lot of attention and planning and care to use it effectively. Really, that's pretty much the gist of it. And my basic path going forward is I'm not going to have a situation in my Blender file, in all likelihood, where this would ever be necessary. It's just not important because I'm only creating a character, rendering it out. And so this is the sumupance of all of this. For me, I'm in the same place I was years ago, which is the common thread, let's say datum, if you will, in Blender is the image. Yeah, I mean, to an extent, it's also the layer, but basically, it's the image. The common thread is the image. When in doubt, render out the images and just comp them together in whatever program you want to use, because the psycho-emotional argument would be that you are trading away future flexibility, because what if you bake it down, let's say, to a complete image where your ink and paint and color and everything is baked in, and then later you need to undo that and get back to the original elements. And indeed, that is a very real risk. What you do is, when you have a complex character with multiple layers, like ink and paint and, you know, shadows, what you do is you make a copy of it and you work later with the baked down version, but you keep the copy handy in case you need to get back to it. Actually, this scene is a classic example of that, for a reason that you, if you're a newbie out there, you might not think about. You won't even think about it until you bump into it, and then you'll realize it's potentially actually a really big deal. To what am I referring? I'm referring to the lighting effects. One thing you won't think about until it's too late, potentially, is that when you add a lighting effect to your shot, you're putting a gradient over your character, which means at all points across her face, this is not the same color as this. Get it? This and this are not even close to being the same color. And so if you baked the lighting effects into the character, you're kind of hosed later when you need to maybe do what I just did here, where you use the liquify tool to modify a pose. Okay, you're not necessarily hosed, but you could be, because at whatever point you find you need to refill something, like maybe you wind up, there's a little hole in your character, you just need to patch it up and fill it, no big deal, right? And the problem becomes that, where do I sample my image to know that this patch is going to be filled with the right color? And moreover, if I filled it with a solid color, you would see the patch because the surrounding colors are actually changing as you go across the face. You see what I'm saying? Once you bump into that problem, you realize, oh my God, that's like a really big problem. And you will not understand or appreciate it until you're doing a larger project and you actually bump into it. So for me, I learned kind of a while ago, you always keep your lighting effects separate from your characters, because you definitely are going to have to get back here and be able to sample the exact actual colors. You know, so I mean, it's just stuff you learn, and you know, you learn it very slowly by pounding through and just doing stuff. Anyway, so it is true that this particular shot does kind of have a lot of layers. Now, this is 3.75, and I do not believe we ever come to this. Yeah, okay, so this group right here can be deleted. That is a holdover from 03-74. Because when she bends over like here, you can see the clothes all crumpled up on the ground. Or the pants, I guess you'd say. Well, we never used that in 03-75. So that's basically where we're at today. Last night, when I was kind of wrapping up, I literally took 374 and I said, all right, let's just start taking the images and mixing them up in a different order, possibly running them in reverse, and then we wind up with this scene. And then she'll have some dialogue. And I may animate this so that, because she makes a fairly snarky comment to Mel, like, maybe you should try it sometime, kind of thing. And so at that point, probably, I don't know, I probably should just address this right now. So this is, okay, that's the background. This is all background. So let me close that up. Oh, I put it on the character layer. On the Blender characters layer. Okay, so. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let's just pause here for half a second. Is Mel in this layer? He is not. Okay, so that makes things a little simpler and cleaner. Okay, so what I'm basically wanting to look at here is I'm on auto key blank. For what I'm doing right now, I probably should be on auto key duplicate. That way, when I add something, it's just going to add it to this black silhouette. It's not going to delete what was already there. Okay. I'm going to use the G key. The G key is the freehand path tool, and a lot of times for solid colors, it's just a quick way to work, right? So if we're going to do that, her hand would be kind of like this, and the clothing would sort of drag behind for half a second. So now I'm going to hit the E key and just erase this stuff. Now that's just one way to do it. What I could have done is leave it in auto key blank mode, but just duplicate the key and then continue drawing on top of it. So there's more than one way to skin that cat. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, well, actually one thing I want to correct here now that I'm thinking about it. Let's get out of erase mode. It's kind of bugging me that the volume of her leg does not feel right. Here, yeah, that does not feel right. That might be a little too much, but yeah. I mean, she's not a particularly, you know, skinny type of build. Let's see. Okay, cool. So since we're in auto key duplicate mode, we can just chisel away at this like that. And frankly, this could probably just be moved. So we'll let this stretch a little. Okay, and I'll come back and catch her hand in just a minute. Will Krita create a new key? It looks like it will. Oh, good. That's cool. That's what we want. Always like it when Krita is cooperative. Okay. And now I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bounce. Okay, so look at that. That's perfect. That's gorgeous. All right, save my work. Definitely save my work. Okay, I'm going to look over here and see if there's anything going on in the world outside. Did you see the videos? They should have addressed the issues brought up yesterday. One of the videos was using 2A. I know. I think it was the first one you shared. She's still new with Blender, but she's using it for illustration. Yeah, like I said, Sophie, I came across Sophie, it had to be at least 6 months ago. And I thought, you know, this girl, you know, she's doing some pretty decent work. Can you recap? I don't have it in front of me, Amar. What is it? Just, and for the enrichment of other people that are watching, can you just give me the 1 or 2 sentence summary of what is it in these videos you shared that the people watching this video would care about? Like, why? What is the core thing we're talking about being able to do that these methods or plugins or add-ons will help with? Can you kind of cut to the chase on that one and let us know? All right, so now I'm here. I'm still using the freehand path tool. And now I'm just going to keep this really simple. Actually, that's no good. I'm going to actually stretch this up. I'm saying here's her hand, and then a little nubby for her thumb, you might say. Okay, now what I have to do, watch this. I'm going to just grab this section right here and go Control C. And now what I want to do is Control Shift V, which pastes it into the same layer. And it just makes it so that I know that her hand is going to not chatter. It's going to look exactly the same in all 3 of those cells. Right? Okay. Okay, and then the truth is, The truth is that she would chillax and return to her initial position after a bit. So basically, here's the problem. Of course. This cell is not needed. This one's kind of important. Right here, we would have to go like this. This is completely, well, probably the thing to do would actually be just reverse it. Okay, because you're going to have drag and, or not drag and drop, squash and stretch, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in the other direction. Now, do we need one more frame here? Let's just see. Yeah, you ought to try it. Ah, it looks fine. That looks fine. I might maybe sneak these back. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to... okay, that was an interesting thing Krita just did. Okay, I think I meant to hit shift. Yep. I'm just trying to ripple edit it back. Okay, save our work. We're pretty much up to lip sync, which is kind of amazing because here we are with about a 12, 13, 14 second shot, all done in about an hour, actually. About an hour just by reusing old assets. Okay, so I just have to put the lip sync in, and then this whole sequence is going to be... Well, let me correct that. It's not that the sequence will be done, because the sequence, there's still some script left. So this sequence is going to be... This is the bit that I'm working on right now. And according to the script, let me look at this. Okay, I'm going to look at the chat for half a second. The Chaley video, you can, yeah, and see, that's why I asked vis-a-vis your comment at 10:06, is because I'm like, anybody looking at that chat would be like, they have no idea what you're even talking about. You can do this in 2.9, and they're going, well, do what? The first video was talking about how to overlay multiple scenes. Yes. Right, got it, remember. Okay, yes, and my big takeaway from that, you got to remember, the thing about that video, and I watched actually quite a bit of that video now that you're reminding me, the thing that was very obvious is kind of what I said in my commentary earlier. When... Switch back over here so I can kind of look at the fans. I can totally see the value. You know, he did the thing with the octopus wearing the hat and all that. Okay. First, so my impressions were as follows. Number one, being an extremely large and complex project, clearly, that he is working on, I could totally see where really grokking out the Blender, not layers, but I guess collections and view layers and scenes, linking. You know, the whole first section of the video was about object linking, which of course I've known about for 25 years because we've been able to do that in Blender forever. Linking or appending things into your scene. That's old news. So there was nothing there that was helpful to me from an organizational standpoint or, you know, potential capabilities that I might want to tap into. And additionally, his explanation of view layers and collections was pretty good, but a little scatterbrained, a little bit constricted by what, you know, the project he's working on, which is perfectly understandable. I didn't come away from that with anything that made me go, oh man, I'd like to really try working this into my workflow. Not at all. It was like, kind of same old stuff, whatever. And by the way, it's still, I still have not seen a good, well, basically, let me put it this way. This is what I didn't see yesterday. I remember one of the videos kind of came close. Think of it this way. In Blender, you have a scene, okay? Or, well, you have a blend. You have a blend file, okay? Now, the blend file can contain many scenes, okay? So then we blow up scene, and a scene can contain many assets, like a model, could be a grease pencil object, could be an empty, whatever, okay? And each of these consists of other things like the data set that makes up the model, right? Because you can import this, but not actually the object that contains it. It's totally flexible. Well, meanwhile, so you've got all this going on, but in the meantime, you basically got collections. Okay, the thing about collections that makes them powerful is that a collection could include this, and this collection over here could also include this and this, but not this. So collections are inherently very, very, very flexible. And the whole mindset is you kind of want to be thinking ahead and figure out what your collections are going to need to be before you get too deep into the project, because you're going to find out that the architecture you thought would work is insufficient in some way. And the problem is what I just said you need to do is usually impossible, because you have to get into the project and try what you think is the right organizational method in order to discover that it's not. That's the perennial problem of engineering in general, you know. And then mixed into this is the concept of view layers. And view layers, what's weird to me is that view layers and collections seem to share a lot of these same characteristics in terms of the way that they're flexible. What's strange to me is that when you get into the compositor and you include your scene as an input, your only choice is, not only is your only choice view layers, you can't choose a collection to render. Okay, let me state it a different way. At the point in time I'm looking at it, which is Blender 2.3, it seems but you know what? And I gotta add, there's also the concept of slots. Once you render something, that rendering has a red, blue, and green channel, an alpha channel, Z pass, all the different passes that the renderer can do. So you've got all these complex objects that are able to be organized and relate to each other in a completely flexible way. And then for me, the whole question all along was simply this. Okay? The whole question for me was this. I'm over here in Blender and I've got a scene, and it's got some grease pencil stuff in it. And I separate it out into view layers, and the whole question all along was simply, if I'm going to composite, how do I tell Blender what to render? That's really it. How do I tell it how to separate my stuff into render layers? And everything I actually experimented with directly was extremely non-intuitive, because I took the care to put different objects in different view layers, and yet when I rendered them, only the main one would show up. It was as I'm not saying it's bad, because I'm sure there's all kinds of secrets. If you just knew all the secrets, it would be a piece of cake. But nothing about it was even close to intuitive. Not even close. Jim P says, hey, caught you live for a second. I sent you a message about importing ping into Krita where the file name. I saw that, Jim. I saw your message, and again, I might be stupid, okay, but I was thinking, the view layers only deal with what you will see when you're rendering, and in the view, which is why they're called view layers, I suppose, and you can customize what's rendered in the compositor. Okay, so, and I don't want to go back and revisit that, because I do want to get to work on finishing up this shot I'm working on, but, right, and the collections are just an organizational bucket. Okay, that makes sense on the face of it. It doesn't complete the picture that the newbies would want to have, and I'm considering myself one in this regard right now. It doesn't tell me, the newbie, how to use it or what to do with it, but it does tell me more about how to understand it, so that's good. The collections are essentially an organizational aid, and the view layers have to do with what you see. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up and put a button on it this way. If I go to composite, Um, and using it creatively in a way that makes sense to me essentially requires that I pre-render the things that I want to really have control over, such as the characters versus their backgrounds. Okay, let's just say, because that's a common scenario. You say, well, and in a lot of scenarios in the past, that would have been the only answer, and it's a good answer. Don't render your characters married to the background if you're going to be adding effects later or something, or you want to blur the background, defocus it, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Just render a single static image of the background and then render the image sequence of your characters and then composite those two together. You're just using essentially one image and one image sequence. Perfectly. No problem. You can do that. You know, you just have two inputs. One's for just an image, one's for an image sequence. You could have another input that's a scene. I'd have to play with it to see if that introduces some weirdnesses, but so the conclusion from yesterday was this. If I have to render stuff in order to work with it creatively in the compositor, then no shade on the compositor. It's very powerful, but it really doesn't save me any time. You know, you render the darn thing out, drag it. This is what I did here. I render it out, I drag it into Krita, and then I add, you know, the lighting effects and stuff like that. You know, so it's just a matter of what's intuitive and quick. And if you're going to go down the road, this is something only somebody with some real experience with animation software would understand. And then they'd probably agree, is if you're going to go down the road of adding complexity or flexibility or ostensibly power in the way you're using your tools, then it has to be palpably better, dramatically better, clearly more powerful than the old school way of doing it. Or what you're going to do is you're going to spend a week really grokking this thing and learning everything there is to learn about it. And then in practice the following week when you get to work on your actual project, you find yourself going, oh my God, for all the effort I just spent to learn how to use view layers and all the rest, I could have just freaking rendered out the image sequence and just gotten to it, you know. And that's what, you know, so it's got to be a big, big win. For me, I'll give you an example actually of the kind of thing I'm talking about. I have a project I'm working on for a client that involves a character that will ultimately be used in an app, like an iPhone or Android app. So I asked, all right, what's the format your devs are looking for? And she tells me, well, for static images, probably SVG is fine. So that's cool. Blender seems to do a famous job of exporting SVG. In fact, let's give it a try right now, just because I think this is super cool. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. File, export, blend, grease pencil as SVG, and then I'll just save it on the RAM drive. I have no idea if this is going to work, but what I'm going to do now is just go to the RAM drive and then drag this onto my browser. Actually, let me, just to be safe, I'm going to open up another tab. Okay, so here's my tab. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so that is really impressive. The export of Blender from grease pencil to SVG, you can see a little bit here with the shadows. It's not perfect because of the way it's layering, and the density of the transparency is doubling up on itself. You know, that for the project I'm talking about, that would not matter. I won't have that problem, but that's impressive. Okay, so they say for animations though, use the Lottie format. Okay, so now this you guys will find quite interesting. When I looked at Lottie, I found an ecosystem surrounding Lottie that asserts that Lottie is by far the dominant preferred format for animation on the web. Okay? Now this is a very interesting claim because one day ago I had never even heard of Lottie. I've heard of SVG. What Lottie is, it's a JSON format, which is just plain text, and it's basically saying let's use plain text to describe an SVG graphic and also encode the animation in it. Okay? what I found really creepy about it and a little weird was that they're asserting, you're just seeing it all over, like bloggers and stuff. It's like this is just the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, well, okay, how do you generate one? And the definitive, by far, way to generate a Lottie file is to use Adobe After Effects with an extra plugin, by the way. I thought, okay, that's interesting. So you've got this ostensibly open source format that's ostensibly taking the web by storm, and the only way you can reliably generate one is with a commercially available tool. You know, a tool you got to pay for. Okay, that's interesting. Look into it a little deeper. Well, the Lottie format is an open source format that was used and then released as open source by who? Airbnb. Airbnb's developers. Okay, you know, that's not a crime. Nothing wrong with that. If I want to animate SVGs to actually write a little library that encodes it into JSON format for me behind the scenes, well, that's pretty smart. That's cool. But I did think it was weird that it's only a commercial tool, at least that anybody's talking about, and all the tools that have been around for at least 5 years that deal with the Lottie format that aren't commercially available, they kind of like are things like in Synfig. Like Synfig will kind of generate a Lottie file. I haven't played around with it deeply because I'm not a big fan of Synfig. But somebody started creating a plugin for Blender and then kind of dropped it, I think. I don't think it's really very serious. And then the final thing, so you got to understand my perspective as I'm talking about, you got this major corporation that you know, they're throwing us all a bone by releasing this open source format, but there's a catch. You have to buy Adobe's suite to really work with it in a reliable way. And then here was the kicker for me that really kind of got my dander up a bit, which was, and I have to find it now. Where the heck was it? I'm looking for, I mean, that's the home page. So the Lottie Files platform. What was I'm looking for the documentation, basically. Maybe it's under education. Let's see. Let's go there. Well, let me check this. Let me check this. Okay. This will probably turn out to be a bust for me, unfortunately. But here's the deal. I go to a page in their documentation, and the whole article is talking about how vastly superior this format is to antiquated formats like an animated GIF. And they've got a gorgeous little demonstration of it like this. I go into my dev tools and I inspect the graphic. And the graphic, I don't know about this one, but the graphic was an animated GIF. It's like they're talking about how great it is compared to animated GIF, and yet they're using animated GIF in their own website. I'm like, okay. Anyway, I can't really prove it here. But something about that was creepy. And the other thing that was creepy about it is I exported a very simple Lottie file from Synfig. It didn't have very much animation in it, okay, just a little bit. And you know what? It was a freaking 4 megabyte file. Wait a second. Okay, so here's the thing about Lottie. If you basically understand SVG and you basically understand JSON, I'll bet you the rule is this. The rule is, and there's probably a sweet spot between the two extremes I'm about to share. The rule would be if your Lottie file and your animation you want to generate is so simple that you could pretty easily just hand tool the JSON text. You could hand tool it. If it's small enough that that's possible, then you might as well hand tool it, which means you don't need to go get After Effects just to generate a Lottie file. On the other hand, if it's not so simple that you can hand tool it, you probably wind up with files that are actually a lot bigger than like an animated GIF or whatever, given the same exact animation parameters. Now, if somebody else knows more about it and can tell me I'm talking out the wrong end and I'm wrong, fine. You know, I'm totally open to that. Okay, so Amar I'm going to read your comments here, but I'm afraid, I'm a little concerned you might be committing um, the old sin. I'll show you. Okay, so Jim, getting back to your comment, let's start there. So I'm starting at 10:28. So my question, Jim, is this: what are we trying to accomplish here? I really didn't understand it. It says you can import a ping into Krita where the file name will import the pings to the correct frame. So you're saying, okay, here's what I think. This is what Jim P's saying. Could you just give me a yes or no and confirm in the in the comments or in the chat? Okay, here's what we're talking about here, guys, just so you're not confused. If I were to render from Krita, but make the choice here to only render this layer, and I'm going to only render unique frames, what Krita would do is it would generate renders appropriately numbered, by the way. So this would be .0000, this would be .0004, okay, etc. So you'd wind up with a folder full of a bunch of ping files that all have .00XX. It's the 4 digits. I think what Jim is saying is there's a Krita plugin that would let me import that batch of images, and instead of just giving me a list or well, what would Krita do? What Krita would do by default would be import them all as individual layers is what it would do, and then of course you could convert the layers to an animated image sequence or an animated layer. So you can convert a stack of images into an animated sequence in Krita. That you can do all day long. What Jim's saying is there's some plugin out there that would take that batch of images where it didn't render all these in between. It only rendered the ones where something had changed and numbered them appropriately. And then this plugin will reconstitute basically this layer where the numbers would tell Krita where to put them in the timeline. Am I understanding that that's essentially, it's in file import? Okay, fine. So file import. So is it under animation frames? Add hold frames automatically. So you're saying it's part of this. Am I right? Excuse me. At this moment, the reason I'm asking all these questions about it is I wasn't sure where your suggestion came. What problem is it that you're trying to help me solve? Okay, that's my question. What problem is it you're trying to help me solve? And thank you for the yes. My understanding is correct. Okay, cool. Why would I use that, though? Where would that come in handy? The only place I'm aware of where it would be handy would be in the scenario I just described, which I would never do. What do I mean by that? I would never render out of Krita and then just bring it right back in. Because if I'm trying to get it from one Krita scene, let's say, to another, I would just copy the layer and paste it in here and come in and paste the layer. So there's no reason to do all the import export. Yesterday you loaded all the Blender frames and then deleted. Well, yeah, okay, fine. But the problem is what we don't have okay, when you sent me that was the first thing I thought you were trying to say. The problem is we don't have a way from Blender, at least not that I'm aware of. Maybe there is, but we don't have a way in Blender to render this scene where the only thing it's going to render is the keyframes, and then it's going to also number them appropriately. Now, maybe that is possible in Blender, and I just don't know how to do it, or I haven't done it. But that's what you would need. If you could do that, then okay, your idea kind of does make sense. It would be nice if we could render the grease pencil. Right, now it makes sense. Okay, Jim, I definitely didn't read your comments closely enough. Okay, got it. Okay, so what Jim's saying is here's what would happen. You'd render this out of Blender, and it would render all 85 frames. And then Jim P Animation has a Python script that will look at this list of pings that were generated, And anywhere that it finds an image that's at the binary level exactly the same size as the previous one, his Python script says, oh, this must be a duplicate, and it deletes it. It would be safer, by the way, if that script creates a temp folder and moves the duplicates into the folder just in case the script screws up. That would be a good policy. Okay, so now in your folder that you rendered from Blender, all you have is the images that are actually unique. And then you're saying Krita has the ability to import animation frames and put them where they're supposed to be. Okay, question. Yes or no? Is that capability inherent in Krita already? In other words, if I have 3 images right now, I have 3 images in a folder, Dave.0000, Dave.0014, and Dave.0028. They're all ping files. If I bring those into Krita as animation frames, is Krita right now going to put Dave.0014 on frame 13? Is it going to put Dave.0028 on frame 27? Is that the case? Yes. Okay, cool. That's good to know. So from that standpoint, as an intermediate step, it's kind of sad that you would have to do this step because, by the way, guys, keep in mind the whole reason we have to do this step is because Krita, when I'm going through, see, this process of cleaning out duplicate frames it used to be fast. You'd go doop, doop, doop. Oh, there's a duplicate, and you'd hit shift, and Krita would just select. And as I went forward, Krita would be selecting all these images in between. As you can see, today, what the latest version of Krita does is bafflingly nonsensical, and it's arbitrary. When you're clicking along in a layer and you hit shift, sometimes it'll randomly do what it just did right there. It'll select a bunch of frames behind it, which makes obviously no sense at all. And the number of frames it selects is arbitrary. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 6. And then a moment ago, you saw me do the exact same thing, and Krita selected forward frames. So it's all very, very baffling. And if it wasn't for that utter and complete stupidity, there's no reason why you would even need to be. I mean, because the process of cleaning up this takes like 1 minute, maybe 2, if the tools aren't acting stupid. Now let me add one complication to this particular discussion, because I never thought about this until right now. If I use my image viewer, let me see what this does. Okay, guys, let me tell you something magical. My problem is actually solved. So Jim P, thank you, but actually this solves the problem. My image viewer, which is a freely available image viewer, Fast Stone image viewer, I've been using it for several years. I'm actually excited that I can demonstrate this. This is how the Krita timeline used to work. Okay, so pretend that all of these images are actually one layer in Krita, and every one of these images is a keyframe. Okay, you with me so far? It might be easier if I show it this way, just to make it really simple. Let's go to our favorites, episode 3. We'll go to, so I really want to demonstrate this. Okay, this is what you would do. Oh, that's a duplicate, so I hit shift. Now I'm looking for something to change. Up, there's something changed. Right there, boom. And then I would hit delete, and all of these images would be removed. And then I just keep going forward. And I'm telling you, this is, as to clean up duplicate frames, you'll have to trust me on this. A tool will have to work very, very well to beat what I'm doing right here. Why? Because this literally takes about 2 minutes to completely clean up a scene. Whereas the tool, you know, I've got to browse to the folder. I've got to invoke the Python script. The script has to work absolutely perfectly, and it might, right? But at the end of the day, the tool better be pretty good to beat what I'm demonstrating here. So in spite of myself, I inadvertently just now tripped over the solution to my whole problem. That's it. I can just do it in the Faststone Image Viewer. This is an excellent, I've been so happy with Faststone Image Viewer. It's just a really smart program. It's a small program that just does what it does and does it really well. And there's actually a ton of, you can add effects and color correction and all that from right within the program too, by the way, just for what that's worth. I hardly ever do, because why would I? I've got a hotkey set up that if I grab an image and I hit the E key, it automatically launches Krita and loads that image. Stuff like that. It's just smart, If you can manually see a slight mouth moving, then go ahead and view it. Exactly. Now, your method probably, is more exact. The danger of the script would be, is it possible that you would get two images that were seemingly binary identical but actually are different? I don't know if that's even possible. It probably isn't. But if it was possible, then that could be a little bit of a potential glitch. Yep. So, like I said, I say in spite of myself, because it's like what I just did right here, I was able to demonstrate for you guys. This is how Krita used to work. And you could do it right here in the timeline. You just go forward, hit shift, back up a little bit, click, go, done. I mean, it was fast. And I don't know which freaking version to load to be able to do that. I truly don't. This is functionally identical functionality. This is exactly what I've actually been wishing I could still do in Krita, and it solves the problem. I just go to the folder, go to the render thing, remove the duplicates, piece of cake, no problem. Okay. So getting back to yes. Well, GreenSock, and I have an older version of GreenSock that I did pay for back in the day. Simplicity, okay. Yeah, there's more than one tool for animating SVGs that are web-based, and they're pretty damn good, and they're open source in many cases, and they are essentially a JavaScript code base for working with SVGs. So it's all good. So this is why I said you might be committing the cardinal sin here, Amar, because what you're doing is you're putting in the chat a long list of things that you quote unquote can do. Okay, and I said this yesterday, but I'm going to say it again. Telling me or anyone else what a tool ostensibly can do is not that useful. Why? Because YouTube and the web is utterly and completely clogged right now with all kinds of information about things that you can do with AI, for example. Go to Hugging Face, and if you can use this one code base right online, and you can automatically generate outlines for your pencil test animation, for example. Okay? And as I said a week ago or more, my experience is that of the tools that are being widely touted based on what they can do, 100%, not 99, 100% of the time when you go to use them, they either don't work at all, they blow an error, or you try to run them locally and you run into instant dependency hell. If you're a person who doesn't know what dependency hell is, don't worry about it. Trust me, it's not fun. Okay? So when you tell us, yeah, you can do this and you can do that and you can do this and you can do that, and then you can make it, you can export it and use it as HTML5 and blah, 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 blah. These are all the things you can do. Problem is that it doesn't tell me anything about how to do it, and it completely overlooks all of the things that are going to go wrong and take half a day of dicking around when I go to actually do it. All I care about is how do I do it and what do I do. I work in reverse. When I wanted to understand, for example, the Lottie format, I didn't look at the docs. I didn't look at the tools. I looked at the code. I looked at the JSON code and I said, okay, I see exactly what they're doing. NM as a title, or as the name of a parameter, means name. and they're kind of intuitive. I mean, they're basically two-letter acronyms. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna guess FF might be first frame, and LF would be last frame. It's that type of thing where you're specifying in the JSON how long the animation is, a given layer. If it only goes from this frame to that frame, but not the full length, then obviously that item in the animation is only showing during those frames, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You look at the JSON and you go, okay, I see how it works. There's nothing hard about that. What's hard is taking the SVG file and generating the JSON for an animation that is non-trivial. In other words, if it's not so simple that you could just hand tool the JSON yourself, it turns out it's kind of hard to do reliably, and maybe the only tool that actually exists that makes it, just export done is After Effects. That could well be the case. In fact, it could well be the case that it's Adobe that's pushing this idea that the Lottie format it's revolutionary. It's the most used format on the web, because they're asserting this. I'm seeing it being claimed all over the place. What a wonderful format. And it's so easy. All you have to do is buy After Effects. I see. I see how that works. Nah, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here. I'm saying I'm a capitalist. Well, I'm an entrepreneur anyway. I get how the freaking world works. If everybody out there is saying that this thing that you've never even seen before is by far the most popular thing going, it's what everyone's using, it's probably because that is A, not true, but the people who are making the claim wish it was. Because they're not trying to build loyalty to the Lottie format, although that would happen. They're trying to build market share for After Effects. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm just saying that's how the world works. Okay? You sling your bullshit because you have a longer-term capitalist goal. Does that mean it's evil? No. The Lottie format could be amazing. It could be truly amazing. I took a glance at it. I looked at the JSON. I actually downloaded Synfig. I generated a Lottie file, and I'm going, oh my God, I've got a 2-second animation, and it's a 4 megabyte JSON file? What the hell is going on around here? That doesn't make any sense, because the equivalent animated GIF would be like 24K. It'd be like nothing. So it's like, no. There's more to the story with Lottie. There's a Lottie more to the story. I'm really sure of that. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Time may prove me completely. I'm talking out the wrong end, but I suspect this is what we're all going to learn over time. So, anyway, we got to get in here and get the lip sync done. So, I just share this information because when I talk somewhat snarkily about certain things, it isn't because I'm trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm simply I'm telling you, fairly unfiltered, exactly what I see. And when something's good, in fact, in Amar's case, of course, I've been highly complimentary of Amar. He has done a lot of work. Okay, great. Okay, I'm actually super thankful. Darren T is here, and Darren is a coder. Okay, his day job, he's writing code. Okay, so now maybe you can tell me I am talking out the wrong end, because I could be. He says, I've used Lottie at work, but I never use it personally, and it's certainly not by After Effects for it. Okay, can you expand on that? What is it about it that's either good or bad? Just concisely, what are the goods and the bads? My version of that would be this. It looks like it's infinitely powerful, but to do something that's complex enough to show that power is going to result in a very big JSON file that there's no way you could generate by hand. Therefore, you will have to have a tool to do it, and the only tool that does it reliably is After Effects. Therefore, Lottie for me is probably a non-starter right out of the gate. Now, that's my assessment. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it, man. Okay, and Jim P., I'm going to make a note actually on my to-do list to download your Python file and mess around with it, okay? So I'm actually doing that right now. Download Jim P., because I appreciate that you would have, I don't know if you generated this Python script just for me, but A, if you did, thank you, that's very nice, and B, Now I know that you're a competent Python programmer, which is kind of a handy thing to know because there may be other things in the future where I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm just spitballing here, but it's like, can you write a script that does this? I could probably do it. I mean, I know how to write Python, but, maybe it'd be, pay you X amount of money to just go do it for me so I don't have to. And you know what I mean? Because I definitely have been pretty busy. It's a busy time, my friends. A busy time. I said yesterday. I had to use it because our main front-end developer had heard good things about it. Oh, yeah, and I'm going to just jump in right there and say, yeah, everybody's hearing good things about it because somebody, I don't know who, it could be Adobe, but somebody is working very hard right now to make sure that the entire blogosphere is going, oh, this Lottie thing, oh, yeah, that's cool. If you're one of the cool kids, you're using After Effects anyway. Of course you are, right? That's what the cool kids use. So he asked me to use it for some simple animations, and it worked pretty well. And I gotta tell you, what you're thinking? Okay, so Amar, if I'm interpreting Amar's comment, this is what I think Amar just said. I think Amar just said, I looked at Jim P. Animation's Python code, and from the look of the code, it looks like it was generated with the assistance of Copilot. Is that what you just said? Yeah, to aid him with, okay, yeah. Right. Well, nothing wrong with that. I haven't been using Copilot even though GitHub invited me, at least for, I think what happened, this is my theory, I'll be Mr. Conspiracy Theorist today. Here's what happened. Basically, in the AI sphere, there have been releases very recently that are extremely competitive when it comes to having a coding assistant. I think what happened was, just like the market reacted the other day in relation to Jerome Powell saying we're not going to lower interest rates, all of a sudden the market goes, we're freaking out. Kind of like that, all of a sudden I get an email from GitHub saying, by the way, you've got free access to Copilot now. Is that because somebody's biting into your market share? That would be my suspicion. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're just being competitive. That's cool. They're battling for my business. They want me to have a loyalty to Copilot as my preferred, tool. Again, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Let me see something here. I need to duplicate this frame. It looks like I kind of botched the bounce. There we go. That looks better. Sorry, guys. Little distraction. Little distraction with actual animation, right? Okay. So basically, Darren's not one of the cool kids, as I'm not either. I mean, that's what he stated on Discord. Oh, okay. So okay, got it. I have it installed in my VS Code, but it needs to connect to your account as well. Microsoft owns it since they own GitHub. Yeah, I didn't even know Microsoft had bought GitHub. Hey, Chizyapo. So anyway, interesting day. A lot of things happening. So she's gonna I need to go to the script. So Mel says, let me do this so you guys can see what's going on. So okay, so this is the scene we were working on yesterday, and I need to fix Mel's mouth. What are you looking at? You're all wet. Okay, meaning her hair. So now she's going to respond to that. But we need to fix this, like right now, while I'm thinking about it. Let's just go back right now and deal with it. So in 374, right here. Look at that. Poof. Okay. Okay, I need to remember my Krita hotkeys. Okay, so this is the character layer. There it is. And I need to definitely fix this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Conan brush, my venerable and trusted Conan brush, and just make this shape a nicer shape to begin with. And then let's just go through here and Okay, so it's just changing positions. So this is a bummer. It is a bummer. We got to do it this way. Control C. And then I'm going to the next keyframe. I'm hitting Control Shift V. Next keyframe. Same thing. And now what we have to do is move this. Okay, and it does look like it does look like I guess the shadow would be baked in there from Blender. Okay. Did that do the trick? Let's find out. Okay, so it's probably going to show up again here. Is it? Nope, 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 because I did all the lip syncs. So 74, so cool. Let's render that. Now that's fixed. And we can get on to 75, which again is just lip sync basically. Okay, so she's being snarky, and I can't really convey that very easily here, but okay, right there. Let's go to the mouth layer. And what we're going to do, let's actually do what we did before. Let's use the freehand path tool. Usually, we make it whatever color we want because we can always add a filter mask to modify the color later if we need to. But G key, and we want this to be raw so that it doesn't do a bunch of smoothing. And it did not create a keyframe, so I'm going to hit Control Insert. Then this should be Control Shift X, get rid of that. And insert. Okay, I want to see a blink there. Okay, so we're going to go to the Blender characters, just double checking and making sure. This. So what is this then? Is this from? What do we got going here? I'm trying to figure out what. Oh, this is Mel standing. Okay, so let's close that up. You're right. So that comes up here. Okay, got it. Sorry. So the characters is a group, and this is inside of that group, but this group is also inside that group. That's why I was getting confused. So this is where I want to be. Okay. It's all very, very, very confusing. Okay, so the mouth layer probably would be cleaner to put this here, actually. Just put it right in with the characters, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to save my work. Okay, so right here, I think 2 frames back, I want to put in a blink. Now this is going to be a little tricky, guys. Little tricky. And by the way, let's go back here a little bit. I think I'm going to take the liberty right now. Let's pull out the Conan brush of touching this up. Now this is going to create a problem once things start moving. So just to be safe, I'm going to grab this little segment right here for now. We don't normally like to do it this way, but it's what we have to work with at the moment. And I am going to actually use this opportunity to make a small mod to this. Okay, so let's grab that. Yes, it's still selected, so that's handy. Let's use liquify now. Come on. Shrink this down. Okay, it's only going to work. Oh, stop. Krita, you stinker. I thought it retained my selection and it didn't. But that's Krita. Whatever you hope it'll do, it usually does the opposite. Okay. B. And so now what we have to do is, okay, stop, undo, kill the lighting effects. Mentioned that earlier, didn't I? Okay, we just got to do a little touch up here. Tedious? Yes. There is a point, let's be clear, there is a point where these types of operations reach a point of diminishing returns and you go, God, I should have just completely redone it, you know, from scratch or whatever. That can happen. We're not there yet. I like the expression. Now, is this still going to work? Yes. Okay. I'm going to put that up as high as I can. Do the arrows help? Nope, the arrows don't help. Darn it. If you don't know what I mean by that, don't worry about it. Okay. See, what I can't get Krita to do, you know, it's quite wacky. It appears that obviously I just re-clicked it, so it appears that Krita is remembering the selection. It used to be that when it remembered the selection, you simply see the marching ants. You would see it. You would see that the selection was still there. For some reason in 5.26, that functionality, which was very intuitive, very sensible, wonderful, ploop, gone, chopped out of the program. I have absolutely no idea why. So what we used to be able to do was what I just did. Do a general free transform, and then hit enter, and then save that. I'm sorry. Use the same selection to then add liquefy, touch it up. Krita no longer remembers its selection. It did for years, and it doesn't now. So that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes, friends. It's one of the more crazy omissions. Okay, so now we need to go back and clean all this up. First of all, let's just review. That's not bad. That's not bad. We just have to clean it up. That's all. All right. B key. We've got the effects turned off. So sample. Boom. Do. Yep. We'll just do that. No problem. No problem. Yeah, it's a little tedious, but who cares? Something to do on a, what is it, Friday? I think today's Friday. I don't actually know what day it is. How embarrassing. Literally, I have no idea what day it even is. This is a good exercise, though. It forces you to sort of think in reverse. Whoops. Like, what's the order in which to do things? So I'm working from, basically from back to front. That's not right. Don't you know? Okay. And now I'm going to take this and push this up a bit. Oh, come on. Hotkeys, hotkeys, hotkeys. And then this may wind up showing me that I need to make some mods to the other eyebrow as well. I'm not sure if this, what I'm trying to do here, will work with just a single eyebrow, but it very well might. So, no big deal. We will find out and adjust accordingly. So, just a little bit of chiseling here. Chisel, chisel, chisel. Yeah, I don't mind that. That expression's kind of interesting. that was a little strong. Actually, that needs to be chiseled in too. Nice. Nice. That one's looking pretty good. Okay, let's save our work so we're not regretting it terribly. What's going on over here? Junk from Google. Oh man, we got 5 people or 7 people here. That's crazy. Animation is a complete distraction. Yes, it is. Okay, let's see how that feels. Okay, I would say from about here, I'm going to try and do a little more with it. Meaning, A key, liquefy. This is going to be tricky. There, not bad, not bad, not bad. Can I keep, Krita. Remember, whatever is as stupid as possible is what Krita is going to do these days. But, I mean, I'm just saying, just be prepared. Be prepared for it, right? You got a tool, and you carefully set the size. So what would you expect Krita to do when you switch and go to the next frame to continue using the tool? Exactly, that's right. What Krita is going to do is reset it to the original size, so you have to resize it again, and having the same size every time you use it is therefore impossible. Not trying to be negative here. I'm telling you this is the truth. This is very much how Krita is these days. Whatever is the stupidest thing possible is what the tool is going to do. And I am not retreating from that view anytime soon. Yet, as you can see, it's still quite a useful tool. I mean, I'm sitting here using it, right? Ba-boom, boom. Sad, sad, sad. Okay, right there, right there. Oh, okay, I see what I did. Okay. Boom. Pump, 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 pump. Right there. Right there. Go to the mouth layer. G key. Okay, so this is a little dangerous. I need to sample that. Okay, let me look at the script. Um. Okay, hang on. Okay, I actually think, let's take this. Yeah, I'm gonna go like that. Oop. Okay, so we got a little positioning problem. How silly of me. That's horrible. That's horrible. This needs to be deleted. This should be insert. This should actually be a small shape. I did it again. 1, 2, right there. A. Poof. Alright. Think I got it. Okay, and did I already do this? I already did this, so this is done. This shot is actually done. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's already done. By the way, this change does need to be saved. And now we're going here. We're saving this one. Control. Poof. Wait a minute. Let me make sure Melchizedek's lip sync was in there. I think it was. Yep. Okay. We rendered that. So if we go back to the show, everything should be looking good. Cool. We're in a good place, friends. All right, so lengthwise, oh my gosh, wowzers, we're up to 44 seconds. That's some crazy stuff, friends. That's crazy. Let's just have a look. And so, okay, so yeah, we've got this sequence with Golek and the king. Basically, things are looking pretty good. Let's jump ahead. Got the nice establishing shot. Boom! Next morning. How sweet and beautiful. Something about that bugs me. That drop down. I don't think that drop down is right. Did I turn the effects back on? I don't think I did. Nope, I didn't. Silly me. That's wrong. Gotta come back here. Gotta turn this back on. Save, render. Rock and roll. Poof. Okay, so that's 116 frames. Did I get the whole thing in here? Looks like I did. Poof. Okay, like what I see. Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. Alright, where are we at? Script-wise. Okay, so now I'm thinking about something here. Let me look at the timing of that. I know you guys don't know what I'm thinking, and I don't want to get into it because I'm thinking. Okay, let me just... Okay, so I'm going back in time and looking at... That's really not going to be usable. Okay, so while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to switch over to here, and this establishing shot I didn't love. Yeah, and here's why. Okay, yeah, this is just too big of a move, man. Yeah, I pretty much want to split the difference. So here, hang on, where are we on the Y? We're at 916. Here we're at 744. I'm just going to split the difference as stupidly as possible and just call this 850. Sorry. Got to get to the right spot here. I would even go further. Actually, I think this is a little too extreme. I'm going to change this to 900 just to see how it feels. Yes, much more subtle. I like that much better. Okay. Alright, I think I know what I want to do. Poof. Poof. Well, let me think here. Let's do it this way. I am going to call this 03.76. Yep, let's create a directory. We're going to call this 03.76 blend. For our purposes, we might as well be prepared. So this needs to actually be 76. Renda 03.76 period, and Blender is going to change that period to an underscore. Why it does that I have no idea, but it's been doing it for years. And we probably want to double check this. Yep, that's cool. Boom. Okay, why do it this way, Dave? Basically because all of the basically the palette, everything's in place. So I'm just going to take all these animation keys and just move them downstream so I can start clean. That's all. Okay. Alright, so that would be the D key. Pencil's fine. We're using the pencil test. So he's... So yeah, we're going back to actually doing some drawing and stuff. Got an itchy nose. I don't want people to see me itching my nose. So there. Now you don't get to see me itching my nose. Okay. Nope, not draw behind. I want additive. Okay. And we're just gonna we're gonna erase all this. It's a pencil test. We're trying to keep it loose. And then we're just gonna wait a minute. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. I should probably use the right and left arrows, not the up and down. Up and down toggles between keyframes. Okay, so now, obviously you can do a little massaging of the characterization, but basically what's missing here is the transitional. Let's put this, oh, I don't know, right about there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, this is probably not going to work, but I'll try it anyway. I'll just go ahead and stretch his face a little bit. This is, I repeat, almost surely not going to work. Let's go to D. Okay. Now I'm on, right now, I'm hitting my up arrow and down arrow and nothing's happening, and that's because for some reason I'm not explicitly on the sketch layer. And it is kind of strange. I must have changed a setting or something, because I thought if I add a keyframe here, it should actually show up in the summary. I'm not going to sweat it. Okay, so now let's spread this out and make sure we've only got one keyframe between these. Yep, and then this is basically too far away. We're just going to get into the scene and get to it. Bloom. Okay, cool. What the heck does he do? Okay, so he's going to be, I got to make a couple changes on the script here. Basically, really small changes in the dialogue. So, okay. So he said, "What do you mean?" And that's supposed to be, "What's that supposed to mean?" He's saying that in a sullen manner. That's fine. And we'll say he looks away, sullen. Okay. Those who don't know what the heck I'm even dealing with. Basically, I've got this little web app I wrote that formats everything in perfect screenplay format, and I can create anchors to jump around in the scene. It's not perfect because when I go to edit it, I have to search for where I'm trying to go to, because the anchors don't work when you're in edit mode. So it's not perfect, but it is pretty good, and definitely gives me the ability to have a proper looking screenplay to refer to. Okay, so basically he's like, what's that supposed to mean? All right, I guess for the purpose of for our purposes, we will just smack in some quick and dirty lip sync. Come on. Okay, this should be on right now. Auto lock should be on. That way I can't accidentally modify the wrong layers. Alright, and now we're going to just go I key, insert a blank keyframe, and I guess that will serve the purpose. So let's save our work. What's that supposed to mean? Okay, it's a little slow. Let's see what happens if we, leave 1 or 2 breaks in there, but basically move it all a little quicker. Yeah, that's better. That's obviously pretty ugly. And the little mod there on his chin, that doesn't matter. We'll fix that at the inking stage. Okay, so he's a little grouchy. Poop! Right there. And we're going to go actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to insert a blank keyframe there. I'm going to go ahead and let this be baked into the forgive me, I'm having a total dyslexia moment right now where I'm having to think forward in time and back in time, and my brain's reversing it, so I'm looking straight at something that's very simple and having a hard time actually understanding what I'm looking at. I see. First of all, the key thing here is I was on the wrong frames. So, yeah, don't ever click the wrong thing. You'll pay. Okay. Boom. Okay, so now my question becomes, is there a mouth here? Let's go here. Again, I apologize. It's what I'm dealing with right now is beyond ridiculous. But okay. And then there's something about being on 2 different layers, having to think about when things start and continue. Again, I know I say this all the time, but it's like if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I don't know if I can explain it. Maybe you're looking at the screen and it makes perfect sense to you. And let's turn this back on. And again, same problem again. Oh, this creeps me out. It really creeps me out. Let's go here. Insert a blank keyframe. I think I got it now. Yeah, there we go. Wow. That was really difficult for no good reason. All right. Poof. Right there. Okay, I believe we do have auto keying turned on, but we are in additive mode. So, cool. Oh my gosh, it's 11:40. So from inside the cave, Tia says, so where's Luca? feeling like I want to go to, yeah. It's always good policy to flip your canvas anyway. Hmm. That's too fast. Nope, it's still too fast. Kind of like way too fast, actually. So she says, so where's Luca? Where's Luca? Okay, radical idea, but I'm going to try it. Poof. Oh no. So we've got 2 frames in between each of these. Come on, let go. And we need one tween here. Poof, poof, right there. Okay, put it there. Actually, that works. Okay. Probably less extreme, more like that. Okay. Obviously, you're never going to have motion like this that's not going to cause the whole body weight to shift at least a little bit. Okay, so let's just do a little erasing here. And then this is obviously redundant, so let's just get rid of it. Okay. I suppose it would make more sense right here to have a 1-frame transition with a blink, actually, I suspect. Okay, yeah, other than, look, this okay, now that may turn out now to be too long now that we've got some squash and stretch in there. Actually, yeah, you could bring it back home. Maybe 1 frame later. I don't know. This is obviously we're kind of making this up as we go along here. There's something about this that's really bugging me. I think it might be that this, it feels like everything wants to have a lot more squash, stretch, and recoil. Just for fun. I'm obviously going way overboard here just to see how it feels. That'll work. Alright, so now the main problem here is going to be characterization. We can just kind of reinforce that. Which means, are his eyes too far down on his head, basically? It appears to me that they certainly are. Okay, that goes down. So go to D, E. Boom. D. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, this should actually be a blink. Alright, let's go back here and see if things are feeling okay. Oh wow, that looks actually pretty good. It's rough. It's obviously rough, but the timing and the feel is not bad. Let's see here. Right there, he looks like Luca in that frame because his eyes are too small or too far down on his head. I was trying to hit shift. Okay, hit the G key, then shift. Right about there feels like Melchizedek. This one, it's kind of halfway in between. Probably it's okay, but just pull it up a little bit. And same thing. Same thing here. I'm not speaking very clearly, am I? Probably about there. Okay, so now this bit all happens too fast. Bloop. Wait a minute, I like that expression at the beginning. I'm actually gonna duplicate this here. Obviously the characterization needs a little tightening up, but it's the idea that he's kind of like thinking like, oh yeah, wait a second, where is Luca? Well, unfortunately Melchizedek has been so... I'm going to go ahead and do squash and stretch there. So basically his mouth is dragging behind. Obviously that doesn't really happen. It's not very much in the real world, but... Okay, so let's just make these match. Save it. Well, let's see. We've got. Let's do 60. 60's fine. This is already done, I believe. Yes, 3-76. I'm going to smack this into the show and just kind of see how things are feeling. All right, let me go check the chit chat. Deep Lurk, the new AI that monitors live streams. Let's see here. Animation is complete distraction. Hey, I'm a professional lurker. Nothing wrong with that, man. Have you tried applying this setting to see if that saves the preference? You said that at 11:17 quite a while ago. Have you tried applying the setting to see if that saves the preference? What are you referring to? Was I in Krita at that time, or was it Blender, or what was I doing? I have no idea. If you don't want to answer because it's like ancient history, that's fine. No worries. Okay, so we're gonna switch to here, just because we want to see how it feels, don't we? So let's go here, and we're going to 376. 76, boom, it's an image sequence. We can always modify it later, and Vegas will respond graciously, loading in only the images that we want. Okay, so now we've got this bit here, and she kind of puts him a little bit in his place. Grouchy. And from inside the, okay, so clearly there's a couple frames right here, like from here to here. This is stupid. I mean, this doesn't really work. So I'll probably just get rid of the last. I think I'll just get rid of the last one right now. There's no reason for it to be in there. If you were gonna do it, I mean, it's actually not a bad idea. But the problem is, if you're gonna do it, he would have to turn his head. So here's what we really should probably be doing. Okay, I know what to do. Luca is going to call out, hey guys, like I'm here kind of thing, which is what does in fact happen in the script. So now I'm going to take these, duplicate them over here, grab this, hit the S key. I'm just reversing the keyframes, that's all I'm doing. Poof. Okay. Huh? Yeah. Okay. This is wrong. Okay, this is one of those cases where if you're not careful, you can get locked into something. What I'm saying doesn't make any sense. Sometimes if you have something on the screen that's half finished, or it's not quite right for this shot, but it worked over here, what'll happen is the thing that's on the screen will actually, it kind of grabs your awareness, and you kind of want to get locked into it. And so a lot of times it's best to unceremoniously start deleting or erasing things. The idea is that she says, where's Luca? He's like, huh, yeah, where is Luca? And then Luca says, then he hears Luca's voice. Hey guys. Poof. So right here, what we actually want to do on 52 is probably just repeat this. I'm going to try it. I don't know if it'll work. It might be too much duplication. I've certainly been a little guilty of that in the past. But honestly, I suspect it's going to work. You know, where is Luca? Oh. Okay, so yeah, this will be later. Let's grab this whole bit, move it a little closer, grab this bit, move it further, and then what we want to do, I think, is tone this one down. I think this is a nice reaction, but it might be a little bit extreme here. I'm going to take out these two keyframes and see what it feels like. I'm just going to take this. I don't know. Okay, and then this is too scowly. This is too scowly. I'm gonna just, this is what I'm talking about. It's better to just erase this completely. Because the basic expression would be, you know, sort of, not really confusion, but uncertainty or whatever. And probably, honestly, what it probably would be is pupils darting. That's actually what I think it would be. Because he's thinking. Okay, we don't want these to look like pinholes. Okay. So I'm going to take this, and just move these, and then obviously erase the first ones. And he looks cross-eyed there, so. Maybe we can reuse this one. I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. Hi, guys. Huh? Okay. Not bad, other than these should be spread out a little more. So I'm going to take these and I guess move these downstream. Take these. Spread them out a little bit. Hello, didn't mean to switch layers there, friends. Okay. So this is all just for fun. It's not really necessary, but what I'm going to do is I've got to get some kind of body weight shift in here. So here, I'm going to have some fun. I literally have no idea if this is going to work at all. It kind of did. It kind of did. Okay. Other than I don't like the fact that he's still in that position here. I'm going to make this as big as I can because I just want to take the whole thing and just kind of shift it a little bit without distorting it too much. Okay. I think for the pencil test, this is probably about finished. Grumpy, grumpy, grumpy. She's got a point. Okay, this didn't work. Okay, if you're going to pop this way, then this, yeah, this way coming back does not work. That's better. I love it. He's coming to life. He's coming to life here, friends. That's Melchizedek. Yeah, definitely. That's pretty good right there. That's pretty good character animation. All right, let's render that. I'm going to stick it in the show, and then that's going to be a wrap for this session. Let me check the comments here at the end. Nothing new going on. 7 people watching. Thanks, everybody, for being here. It's been 2 hours. Let's see what it looks like in Blender. Let's put it on full resolution so you guys can see the big picture. Gosh, I just love this sequence. Part of it's because it's been fun working with Blender. Part of it's because just the color and the everything about it just looks, it pops, you know. That's definitely better with less of a camera move. And he's noticing her because she's, I don't think he's ever seen her legs before. I guess this is pretty much the gist of it. Awkward moment. Awkward moment. Ba-da-ba. There's there's a little flaw there that I need to correct. So he's been put in his place. But yeah, she's got a point. Where is Luca? Hey, everybody. Oh, and there's Luca. Okay, so just because I'm going to be... what's in the show is 80 frames. And this really wants to be a little differently paced, so... Okay, so this whole bit here could probably move a little bit this way. Let's see how that feels. Okay, wait a second. Okay, this actually would have to be more like there. She says, where's Luca? Yeah, good question. Okay. Okay. Hey, everybody. Okay, this still feels a little early, but now we've got it to the point where it could probably fit in the 80 frames and feel good. So he's going, yeah, I wonder where Luca is. Hey, everybody. So, go. And this could be probably within one frame of the end because, frankly, we're going to be cutting to Luca, obviously. I like it. Oh, you see Vegas. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, I haven't done that in a while. Have I? Sorry. And the thing is, if I don't look... Furman Animator. Hi, Furman Animator. I think you're new here, so welcome. Sorry that I was showing the wrong screen. I am an evil, stupid man. I'm a stupid man. And Tom, thank you for your patience. So, well, that's why I turn on the live preview of Vegas so I can actually show what's going on with Vegas without switching screens. But yeah, that feels good. Let's render that and see how the flow is. And we will not switch screens. We will just let it play full screen on this one. And then it's 12:04. That'll be time for a wrap. Sorry. Pretty good looking. Good looking show. Coming together. Yes, that works. Then we'll cut to Luca. Okay, cool. So this scene with the kids, we are 52 seconds into it. So that 52 seconds has occurred within the space of about a week, which I'm not totally thrilled with that, but Lucas shows up. Okay. Yeah, there's actually quite a lot going on with the kids. It's probably going to be a full another minute. So, that's okay. Save our work. And that's it for me. I am signing off, and I will see you guys on the flip side.